Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to What's New with ME, the show where we study the headlines, follow the money, and ask the questions every economist seems determined to avoid. Why does a quick trip to a grocery store now require a financing department? I'm your host, Ali Mehdaoui, and tonight we're talking about the economy. I know, very relaxing, right? Nothing helps you unwind after a long day like tariffs and inflation and interest rates and artificial intelligence and the growing suspicion that your paycheck has developed an escape plan. But tonight's three stories, I believe, are connected. President Donald J. Trump has imposed new tariffs affecting Australia and dozens of other trading partners. America's economy is entering a period where inflation, elevated interest rates, energy costs, employment uncertainty, and artificial intelligence, well, they all are colliding. And India is testing polymer or plastic currency. Yes, plastic money. Because apparently regular money wasn't disappearing fast enough. So what does all of this mean for everyday Americans, small business owners, and your already emotionally exhausted checking account? Well, let's get into it. Because this is What's New with ME. Segment one, tariffs down under. So one first story takes us to Australia. The United States has imposed a 12.5% tariffs on many Australian products entering the American markets. Australia is not alone. Dozens of other trading partners are also facing new tariffs, generally ranging from 10 to 12.5%. The administration says the measures are intended to confront weak enforcement against forced labor and unfair trade practices, and protecting American workers from unfair competition is absolutely a legitimate goal. But whenever politicians announce a tariff, they usually explain it like other countries is receiving an invoice from America. Dear Australia, we owe you 12.5%. Please make your check payable to Uncle Sam. A kangaroo may deliver it during normal business hours. That's not exactly how it works. The tariff is paid by the American company importing the product. That company then has a decision to make. It can absorb the additional cost. It can negotiate with its supplier. It can find another source, or it can pass that expense along to you, dear customer. And guess who just entered the conversation? Yeah, you. Congratulations. You went to the store for dinner and somehow became a participant in an international trade negotiations. Think of a tariff like adding a new toll booth to a supply chain. Every time an important product passes through, somebody has to pay. And while businesses may absorb some of the cost, customers can eventually see the effect through higher prices. That does not mean tariffs are automatically bad. Tariffs can protect strategic industries, create negotiating leverage, and encourage companies to manufacture more products here in America, but only if there is a serious plan behind them. Because if we make imported products more expensive without increasing American production, strengthening our infrastructure, training workers, and helping small businesses compete, then we haven't rebuilt the economy. We have just made the receipt longer. And receipts already took like congressional legislations. So you buy eggs, milk, bread, and chicken, and the cashier hands you a document that reaches the floor. Would you like a bag? Ma'am, I need a financial advisor. So what tariffs mean for American families? Tariffs may sound like something that only affects governments and giant corporations, but they can eventually reach the price of food, machinery, building materials, vehicle components, electronics, and household goods. That matters because American families are already dealing with expensive groceries, housing, insurance, transportation, childcare, healthcare, and utilities. You can't keep adding just a little more to every bill, a little more electricity, a little more for insurance, a little more for groceries, a little more for gas. Eventually, a little more becomes your entire paycheck. Then the bank sends you a notification. Your direct deposit has arrived. And 30 seconds later, your direct deposit has left the chat. Oh my goodness. So what does that mean for entrepreneurs, you say? Well, small business owners may feel the pressure even faster. I can attest to that. A large corporation can negotiate supplier contracts, purchase inventory in bulk, change manufacturers, or temporarily absorb an increase. A small business may not have those options. If materials cost more, the owner must choose between raising prices, accepting a smaller profit, reducing expenses, postponing expansion, or cutting staff. And raising prices is never easy. Customers say, why did this become more expensive? The business owner says, my supplies cost more. The supplier says, transportation costs more. The transportation company says, fuel costs more. I know. Strait of Hormuz, right back to it. And somewhere at the end of the chain, an economist appears on television and says, the fundamentals remain strong. Wonderful. Just wonderful. Can the fundamentals cover payroll on Friday? That is why trade policy must include a small business strategy, not just a press conference, not just a slogan, a real strategy involving access to capital, workforce training, domestic suppliers, technology, and practical support. Segment 2, the economy is strong. Please ignore your wallet. So our second story is the American economy itself. Consumer confidence declined again in July as Americans became less optimistic about current business conditions in the labor market. That shouldn't surprise anyone who has recently purchased groceries, filled a gas tank, paid an insurance premium, or made the financially reckless decision to exist indoors with an air conditioning running. Inflation has slowed from previous highs. That sounds positive. And it is better than inflation accelerating. But slowing inflation doesn't normally mean prices return to their old levels. It means prices continue rising just more slowly. Let's say your grocery bill went from $150 to $200. Then it only rises to $204. And economists may say, good news, inflation is cooling. You say, excellent. Where's my missing $54? Inflation slowing is like someone stepping on your foot with a slightly less pressure. Technically, the situation has improved, but you would still like them to remove the shoe. And that explains the disconnect between economic reports and the personal experience. Officials talk about national growth, employment averages, market performances, and inflation rates. Families talk about rent, groceries, gas, credit cards, balances, and whether they can afford vacation without needing to remain in the destination permanently. You do not live inside a national average. You live inside a household budget. If your income increased by 3% while your major expenses rose considerably more, you did not receive a raise. You received a professionally formatted pay cut. Interest rates, well, that's the gift that keeps on billing. So let's have the interest rate conversation. When interest rate remains elevated, borrowing becomes more expensive. Mortgage costs more. Car loans cost more. Credit card debt becomes harder to eliminate. Business loans become less attractive. A family that might have qualified for a home several years ago may now face a much larger monthly payment for the same property. Not a bigger house, not a better neighborhood, not a complimentary butler. The same house, just with a mortgage payment that arrives wearing a designer suit. Car payments have also become significant household expenses. Some monthly car payments now look less like transportation costs and more like ransom demands. Please Send $900 by Friday if you would like to see that SUV again. And when families spend more money servicing debt, they have less money for restaurants, retail stores, contractors, entertainment, travel, and local services. That eventually affects businesses. The customer becomes cautious. The business loses revenue. The business postpones hiring. The worker gets fewer hours. Then the customer becomes even more cautious. That is how household anxiety can ripple through the entire economy. Let's talk about the job market and employed but exhausted. See, employment numbers can also hide important details. A person may technically be employed but still need multiple jobs to afford the basics. Someone may receive more hours but lose affordable childcare. Someone may earn a higher salary but face a longer commute, higher insurance but larger housing costs. A job is not simply a statistic. The real question is whether the income from that job provides stability. Can people afford housing? Can they obtain healthcare? Can they save for emergencies? Can they support their children? Can they retire eventually? Or is retirement now just the exciting opportunity to answer work emails from a slightly more comfortable chair? People are not asking for luxury. Most Americans are asking for breathing room. They want to pay their bills, save something, enjoy their families, and experience one weekend without receiving a notification that another automatic payment has been processed. Segment 3. AI has joined the economy. All right, so look, because tariffs, inflation, and interest rates were apparently not enough excitement, artificial intelligence has entered the economy. So AI investment is generating major spending on data centers, semiconductors, software, energy, infrastructure, and automation. Supporters say that AI could increase productivity and economic growth. Critics worry about job displacement, energy consumption, privacy, and company using automation primarily to reduce payroll. Both sides have legitimate concerns. AI can help a small business create content, organize information, improve customer service, automate repetitive work, and compete with larger companies. And AI can also disrupt jobs and widen the divide between people who understand the technology and people who never received an opportunity to learn it. That is why education matters. Telling people to adapt without giving them a training is not a workforce policy. It is economic hide and seek. Good luck. The jobs are changing. We'll meet you somewhere in the future. People need a practical answer. Which jobs are changing? Which skills are becoming more valuable? How can workers use AI instead of being pushed aside by it? How can small businesses adopt technology without losing the human relationships that makes customers trust them? The winning strategy is not humans versus AI. It is humans who understand AI versus humans who were never given the tools. And let's be honest, some companies are already putting AI into everything. AI customer service, AI scheduling, AI marketing, AI accounting. Soon your refrigerator will call a household meeting because you bought the wrong brands of milk. Ali, based on your previous purchasing pattern, this decision appears inconsistent. Stay out of my business, refrigerator. Segment 4. India is making money waterproof. Literally. All right, our third international story comes from India. So, I kid you not, India's government has approved a field trial of polymer banknotes in the 10 and 20 rupees denominations. These are commonly called plastic banknotes. They are designed to last longer, to resist water and physical damage, and include stronger protection against counterfeiting. Australia, Canada, and the United Kingdom already use polymer currency. India is not immediately replacing all its paper currency. This is a pilot program to determine whether polymer notes perform better under everyday conditions. And honestly, waterproof money makes sense because if my money is going to disappear, I would at least like it to survive the washing machine first. But some online reports are describing this as India's major economic upgrade or a new financial fortress. Let's slow down. India is testing more durable currency. It did not build the Death Star. Still, this trial represents something much larger. Countries around the world are monetizing their economic infrastructure. They are examining their currencies, digital payments, manufacturing capacity, energy systems, technology, supply chains, and trading partnerships. Why? Because the global economy has become more predictable. Pandemics can disrupt production. Wars can disrupt energy markets. Tariffs can change prices. Technology can transform industries. One political decision can force thousands of businesses to redesign their supply chains. Countries do not want to remain dependent on systems they cannot control. They want durability, security, efficiency, and flexibility. India's polymer nodes trial is a small example of that broader movements. So the connection everyone should understand? Well, what connects all of these stories, you may ask? Adaptation. America is using tariffs to confront trade practices and influence global supply chains. Businesses are adapting to inflation, borrowing costs, and changing consumer behavior. Workers are adapting to artificial intelligence. Countries like India are modernizing parts of their financial infrastructure. Everyone is adapting except the average American family is often expected to do it without any additional time, money, training, or support. Politicians say consumers will adjust. Companies say the market will adjust. Economists say demand will adjust. The American family says we have adjusted everything except the fact that we still need to eat. We still need to feed our children. This is where public policy and economic reporting often loses the human story. The economy is not simply the stock market. It's not only gross domestic product. It's not a chart displayed behind someone on cable news. The economy is the parent choosing which bills get paid first. It is the senior citizen watching the price of prescriptions. It's the young couple wondering whether home ownership is ever to be a possibility. It is the employee worried about automation. It is the entrepreneur working late because hiring another person is currently unaffordable. Those are the people who should be at the center of the conversation. So what can everyday Americans do? Look, we cannot personally control global trades, interest rates, energy markets, or the Federal Reserve for that matter. But we can become more prepared. First, know exactly where your money's going. Review subscriptions, interest rates, insurance costs, recurring payments, and household expenses. This is not about blaming families for economic conditions they did not create. You cannot cancel enough streaming subscriptions to make 500,000 house cost 250,000. A financial clarity gives you more control than financial uncertainty. Second, prioritize high interest debt whenever possible. If you're struggling, contact lenders before missing payments and ask about legitimate hardship options. Do not wait until the situation becomes an emergency. Third, develop an adaptable skill. Communication, sales, leadership, media production, digital literacy. Responsible AI use, and I use that word responsible intentionally. Customer relationships, problem solving. Look, technology will change, but the ability to communicate, create trust, and solve real problems will remain valuable. You just have to learn. You just have to get better. Fourth, if entrepreneurship makes sense for you, start with a real problem you can solve. That's what I do every day. Not a logo, not a business card, not a motivational photo shoot next to somebody else's vehicle. A customer, a problem, a solution, then build from there. So how can we help you here at ME Studios? At ME Studios, we understand that this economy is challenging families, entrepreneurs, nonprofit organizations, and local businesses. Our work goes beyond cameras and content. We help people communicate clearly, build credible brands, tell meaningful stories, reach the right audiences, and use modern media more strategically. Because when the economy becomes uncertain, many businesses make the mistake of disappearing. They stop marketing. They stop communicating. They wait for conditions to improve. But your customers cannot support a business they cannot find, understand, or even trust. Our team can help entrepreneurs develop their message, improve their content, strengthen their digital presence, and use media to create real opportunities. If you are building a business, leading an organization, launching a program, or trying to reach more people, visit dmestudios.net. That is dmestudios.net. Let us discuss how strategic media can help you remain visible, credible, and competitive. And here's a message to families who are actually struggling. Look, I want to speak directly to anyone experiencing financial hardship because that's a real thing. In America right now, if you're making $110,000 a year, you're in a poverty line. Do you believe that? That means you're paycheck to paycheck. If you or someone in your family is struggling with rising prices, reduced hours, job losses, housing costs, medical expenses, or business setbacks, comment the word assistance. Please do not provide personal, financial, medical, or identifying information publicly. Simply comment assistance or contact us privately. We cannot promise direct financial aid, and we are not a government agency or a financial advisory service, but our team can listen, share credible resources, look for possible community connections, and help bring attention to legitimate needs. We want this platform to do more than describe problems. We want it to connect people because behind every economic statistic is a person trying to make it through the month. And sometimes the first step towards finding help is simply letting someone there know that you need it. In closing, tonight, well, we learned that Australia has new tariffs. America has economic anxiety. Artificial intelligence has apparently taken every available internship, and India is testing money that can survive the washing machine. The global economy is reorganizing. Trade relationships are changing. Technology is transforming work. Countries are modernizing. And families are being asked to absorb one adjustment after the other. But everyday Americans should not be treated as an afterthought in the new economy. Our strong economy must work beyond Wall Street. It must work on Main Street. It must work in the kitchen table. It must work for employees, parents, seniors, entrepreneurs, and young people trying to build their future. If the numbers look good, but families cannot breathe, the work is not finished. If corporations adapt, but small businesses are left behind, work is not finished. And if technology grows while people lose opportunity, the work is definitely not finished. So I want to hear from you. What is affecting your household or business the most right now? Groceries, housing, interest rate, energy, employment, or simply the uncertainty of not knowing what comes next? Leave your answer in the comment. And if you or a family member is genuinely struggling, comment assistance without sharing sensitive information. Share this episode with someone who needs this conversation. Subscribe and follow us in the channel that you are watching from right now or listening from. And definitely visit dmestudios.net. That is dmestudios.net for media production, content creation, branding, and strategic communication. I'm Ali Mehdaoui. This is What's New with ME, where we follow the headlines, connect the dots, and occasionally check whether our paycheck is still breathing. Good night, everybody.
Still marketing your business like it's the Yellow Pages era? Welcome to ME Studios, where local solopreneurs and small business owners catch up with the digital world and take over it. We help you go from invisible to undeniable. Featured on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Plus, gain press exposure in over 100 to 300 major media outlets like Fox, ABC, CBS, NBC, and the CW. Right here in Eatontown, New Jersey, just steps away from the soon-to-be Netflix studios, our multi-unit facility is built for creators, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. Stop marketing like it's 1995. Start building your digital authority today with a team that gets it.